Happy New Year and welcome to Kia e-Niro Diaries Encore. I'd just like to thank people who have been watching and who have subscribed to the new channel. And I must apologise for completely messing up the original Kia e-Niro Diaries channel, which I created in about February, March 2019, before I even got the car. And I did that using not really knowing what I was doing with YouTube. I set that up using an email from a previous job I'd had. I didn't realize that the YouTube channel is actually tied to the email that you create it with. And obviously, that email eventually went away. Quite rightly, they so who's this guy using this email? They crossed me off, so I couldn't actually add anymore. So on that channel, e-Niro Diaries had about 380 subscribers. Only got about 50 so far on this one, but I do appreciate that some of you have still taken an interest. As I say, this is a long-term, or we hope anyway, a long-term ownership experience for us. It was a kind of retirement present to self, I suppose, and I wanted to go electric and, go cold turkey on fossil fuels, so to speak. Anyway, this is just a review of the whole year of 2021, in terms of the usage we did in the car, and the efficiency and how much it all cost. So last year we did 20,442 kilometres from the 1st of January to the 31st of December, which is 12,674 miles. Now, we see ourselves as Mr. and Mrs. Average. I always used to think that 12,000 miles a year was really average, but actually, if you Google it, most people in the UK, France, most European countries, the average is about 8 or 9,000 miles a year. But of course, a lot of people have more than one car, so they spread their usage over two or more cars, depending how many drivers there are in the family and if they go different directions for their jobs. If you look at it on a daily basis, it swings from midsummer local trips of 11 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers to sort of midwinter motorway trips where it's 17, 18 or more with the heater going. But the average for the year was exactly 14. Okay. Now, I recorded this last March when I did the 2 year review, and it was sitting at 14.6. But obviously, it creeps up as the winter goes on and you do more of your kilometres in the winter. But say we went to the UK in end of October, beginning of November, and it started to move up then, because obviously straight away we're not in the optimum sort of temperature for batteries and what have you, and it was all sort of motorway driving. But anyway, so on the basis of 14 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, we actually used 2,861 kilowatt hours of power in the car. So how much of that was plugging in at home? Well, it was actually most of it. And how much was using public charging, or in some cases, getting free charging? Well, on the public charging side, we plugged in a grand total of 21 times to public chargers where we were paying for the power. And of course, sometimes you plug in, you go to a place when you're on vacation and you think, oh, there's a mid-level charger, I'll just park and plug in, and then you go for a little walk and you decide you're not going to stay there, or there's no interest in restaurants, so you spend about €3 on power. And obviously that goes all the way up to, you're on a long journey, you've been driving for 2-3 hours, you're at a fairly low state of charge, you plug in, you're going to have some lunch, you spend 40 minutes and you spend 30 euros or whatever on it. So anyway, what that all added up to last year was we spent €200.50 on public charging. So And going back through all the receipts, because obviously if you use Charge Map as I do for most of my charging, I did some of it with Kia Charge and a couple of times with my bank card. But that all added up to just under 345 kilowatt hours. Okay, and then the free charging, we tend to plug in when we go to the supermarket, and we get 4 or 5% at Lidl. And then when we're in the UK, we must have done, I don't know, 6-7 hours of being plugged in at Tesco's, where we were staying with family who conveniently both live sort of 5 minutes walk from Tesco's. So we did quite well out of Tesco's. So we did about 220 kilowatt hours of free charging, and that includes, like, I picked Mrs. e-Niro up from the airport in Bordeaux when she went to see her son in Switzerland back in the summer, and you plug in there for a few minutes, you get a couple of kilowatts. So I've taken all that into account and come to the conclusion that 2,296 kilowatt hours were done at home. That's out of a total of 2,861. So I don't know what that is. It's at least sort of 75% of all the charging at home. Now, as you can see behind me, I've got solar panels, but they're not the ones that are on the roof of my barn. I bought these just before Christmas, and an inverter, and we're going to put some more panels up sometime in 2022. I don't know what's going to happen normally when the weather gets a bit better. Problem we've got is that our old stone barn is not exactly easy to, you can't sort of just buy standard fittings for these things. And I'm actually going to hang these on the south-facing end wall. So it's a bit of an experiment, and we'll see how that goes. But as in all things, these panels are a lot more powerful they're a lot more powerful than the ones I've already got up. The ones I've got up are like 300 watts per panel. These are 375, so the price per watt continues to fall. And I've got three, because together they add up to just over a kilowatt peak. And so I've got one inverter that can handle a kilowatt. So we're going to put those up and increase, hopefully, the solar output. So the solar output last year off my existing 8 panels was 2,099 kilowatt hours. So that's a bit less than in 2020. It's about 2.5% less, in fact. But it was enough to do, 91.4% of my home charging. How's that? So if you work that all out, the sort of 8.6% of home charging that I actually effectively paid for on my electricity bill would have been €25.61. So if we add that to the €200 I spent on public charging, we spent €226.11 on powering the car last year, which is just over 1 euro cent. It's 1.1 euro cent per kilometre, which is pretty amazing. Now, as you know, I used to have a Toyota Prius. It's an old one, but it was pretty economical. So, being generous and saying if that did 55 miles to the gallon, and we said €1.50 per litre, which is being generous actually, petrol and diesel in France have actually gone up a lot this year. We'd have spent €1,613 on petrol this year to do the same, which is 8 cents per kilometre. So it's 8 times more expensive. Now, okay, I've got the solar panels. If I didn't have the solar panels, I'd have paid about probably another €200 on my electricity bill. But even so, that would have been like €400 for the whole year, including public charging. still a fraction of the cost of running a fossil fuel car. So what else? Last week, finally, got round to changing the rear view mirror. So back in the summer, when the car went in for its 45,000 kilometre service, I pointed out to them that the passenger side wing mirror no longer folds in. I mean, it still worked. You could adjust it from inside the car and, and all of that. But it was just the little motor that pulls it back in when you lock the car. Small job. So it took them a long, long time to get this part and sort it all out. So I took it in to the dealer last Wednesday. And they also put 4 new tyres on because I really needed new tyres. I've gone for these Hankook ones, and I have to say they're really quiet. They seem very, very quiet. So the original ones were Michelin Primacy 3s, and because of a stupid mistake on my part in January 2020, I hit a bollard at Poitiers Airport and blew out the rear driver's side tyre. So I got 2 new front ones, moved the fronts to the back at 18,000 kilometres, which is not really what I wanted to do. So, of course, we got to the point where the rears were the original tyres from the car being new and had done 54,000 kilometres. They weren't great. And the front ones, which I had changed to 18,000, and of course, fronts do a lot more work in a front-wheel drive car. They needed replacing. So I said, I'll just start again and get 4 new ones. So that's great because in about 10 days or so, we're going to be heading off, we hope, to Frankfurt, which is a long, long way. There's but some baby's been born or something like that. I don't know. No, it's great news. Mrs. e-Niro's son and his other half have had their first baby. So we're going to drive over to Frankfurt, which will be interesting because that's about 1,000 kilometres. That'll be the longest sort of single journey we've ever done in the car. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me for this long. I won't do so many videos, I don't think. I'll probably do one on this trip to Frankfurt. We'll see how that goes. But I hope you had a great Christmas and New Year. Thanks again for watching, and please do click a like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Take care now. Bye.